All right, good afternoon. Thank y'all for being here. I want to start off on a little bit of, or not a little bit, but a lot of a somber note. Just prayers and thoughts to everybody in Eastern Kentucky. Really tremendous tragedy with the floods in Eastern Kentucky, and being from the state, from the central part, and then Eastern Kentucky and the Appalachians. So kindred spirits to us here in West Virginia. So just wanted to let them know that we're thinking about them. And next thing, Kelly's in, obviously taking a new job. It's the first time I have had an opportunity to get in front of you all and talk about that. Wish Kelly the best. Tremendous asset to myself personally, and to our program while she was here. And wish her the best as she moves on, and we'll be in good hands moving forward. And I think Shane will have an announcement on that, but feel really good about our direction administratively that we're going in. Summer, want to take a second and just talk about the summer. We talk a lot about kind of the lead in to fall camp. And so, we break our year into kind of sections. So we have a winter phase that goes for 8 weeks. That is, the first 4 weeks is really all strength and conditioning, led by Mike Joseph and his staff. Then we get into spring ball, which is 5 weeks, and then the guys get a break during May, which is needed. Then we come back, and we have 8 weeks in the summer. It lasts 9, but they have 8 weeks to work. And this summer was the first summer that we could have OTAs, and we were able to hold a number of those, and they paid off. I'll talk about that here in a second. But I felt like, as I talked to Mike, and I think it's a fine line. We were around our players in OTAs and handling position meetings in June. Gave them a break while the staff went on vacation for about 3 weeks, and then came back the last 2 and around them again. But I think from an alignment assignment standpoint, we're further ahead because of those OTAs. And then talking to Mike, he really feels strongly that this has been a successful summer, and this isn't something that he just says every year either. This is the first time in my 4 years that he's came to me and said, mentally and physically, I feel really good about where our guys are. And I think for him, and he talks about our front, on offense and defense, our O-line and our D-line really leading the way during the summer. And so I think Mike and his staff are as good or better than anybody in the country. And you saw that in fruition today. I thought when we went out there, our guys were excited. We're only in helmets. We practice for an hour and 40 minutes, but we two-spot. Everything that we do in our team periods is two-spot. So we have the same drill going on 2 fields. So everybody that's out there, all 110, got reps today. And thought our energy was good. Our knowledge of what to do was far ahead of what it has been. And I thought we handled the workload in a really good fashion. And so just wanted to give our strength staff some credit. Roster-wise, Will Dixon is here. He practiced today. So I know some of you guys will ask about that. He was here. As far as injuries, Exery Lowe practiced. I wouldn't say he's full speed yet, but he's getting really close. And then Michael Laughlin, who has actually had a final in his NBA class, but he'll be limited early on, but we're cautiously optimistic about how he's proceeding. And then last thing before I open up for questions, I think y'all saw this maybe on the last day or two. Ryan Nealon accepted a job down at McNeese State. Happy for him and Micah and his little girl Penelope, and obviously that last name is synonymous with West Virginia football. But we're happy for Ron getting his first opportunity at the FCS level, and much deserving. So wish him the best. And with that, I'll take questions.
So, Coach, in terms of first practice, you mentioned helmets, hour 40 minutes. Retention of what you were teaching in the spring, especially offensively, which some of that was new.
Yeah, I think like I was saying, like the OTAs were really beneficial. And so the way the OTAs are structured is, from a competitive standpoint, you couldn't go against anybody, but you could work on alignment and assignment. And so from a retention standpoint on offense, is everybody, with maybe the exception of Will Dixon and some of our new walk-ons that were here, we knew what to do. Now, we've got to get better as far as our reactions off playing against somebody. I'm not saying all our route reactions and things like that were perfect, and maybe our timing is not exactly where it needs to be, which is to be expected day one. But I thought our retention was really good, and same thing defensively. What we asked them to do in our day one install, we've actually covered 3 different times during OTAs during June and July. So felt like that we knew what to do. Didn't have to slow things down and teach a lot out there today.
I'll ask you, I've got about 5 text messages from guys asking about how the quarterbacks are spinning it. I said, well, I'll ask the head coach, how are the quarterbacks spinning it?
Yeah, so Will Crowder Goose was not out there today. He was a little bit under the weather this morning, so he did not practice. So Cavallaro got his reps, but the other 3 were out there, and I think some good and some bad. The thing that they throw on their own during the summer, and we were able to do a little bit more probably during OTAs throwing the ball, but they throw on their own. And the good thing is they get repetitions. The bad thing is sometimes they're not the exact same repetitions they would get as if the staff was out there. And so you get into a few bad habits, and I think that's probably where we're at. We were a little bit late on some balls today, and so we've got to get the ball out. But overall, I thought they knew what to do. Our timing wasn't exactly what it needed to be, but I thought we operated well at that position.
How do you split up those reps? And does JT need a few more since he didn't have the spring?
So really what we did, and y'all can talk to Graham's coming in here tomorrow, right? Yeah. So you can, Greg, he can go in depth with that. But today, the 3 of them got, as far when I say the 3, Garrett, Nico, and JT, all 3 got the same. We're able to get more reps. And I said 2 spot. Let me explain that. So we did, on 2 fields, we did 15 reps of 7 on 7. So we have a period there that is 8 minutes where we get 30 reps. And so those are almost all of them got about 10 to 12 because Will wasn't there. On one side, they got a few more than that. But that's the way we did all our team drills, and it was split down split down the middle as far as all of them getting about the same. Graham can go into some detail on that too.
Coach, obviously, Graham comes from the Mike Leach coaching tree. Mm-hmm. But, I guess what I wanted to ask is, obviously it's an air raid style offense, but how much do you see the run game factoring into the offensive play plan that he's going to have this year?
Yeah, I think we have to. I think if you look at how this league's evolved, and you look at how Graham's probably evolved as a play caller. If you look at even before USC, if you go back to North Texas, they were really a balanced attack, and they performed very well offensively there. And I think Graham with Seth Luttrell there really got an appreciation and more of an understanding of how to attack in the run game and how that can take a load off the quarterback. I think if you asked him, he had a whole lot of pressure when he was playing. And if he didn't play well, they were going to struggle. And so I think that's what you want to do in any air raid system is your quarterback's going to have some off days. Now, hopefully they're few and far between, but there's going to be an off day at some point, and we got to be good enough around him, running the football defensively, to be able to still win those games. And so the run game is going to be a big piece of what we're going to try to do this year, and Graham will tell you that as well. That's a point of emphasis, and y'all have heard me say this probably on repeat. How do we get better? Because that's the goal. We got to be better, right? Well, one way that we have to get better is running the football against the upper teams in our league. At times last year we ran the ball successfully against the middle and the bottom of our league, but we didn't run it very well against the top. And so that's something that going back to when we started in January in our offseason that's been a focus. We got to run the ball versus good people.
You mentioned the physical work they did in the summertime. From your perspective, give me some guys that have jumped out at you that you looked and said, yeah, they changed their body.
Yeah. Well, let's start on offense. I think Caden Prather is one. And when you go through and, high school football, especially depending on where you played it, is so much different. And you can see Caden over the summer. It didn't happen in the spring, but over the summer, at some point it clicked. And he understood kind of what it took from a nutrition standpoint, from a strength and conditioning standpoint. And I thought he did a really nice job today in day one. but his body looks better, John. And so I think he's one. Jaquay Hubbard is somebody that continues to really change his body. Jordan White is a guy that, from a strength standpoint, pound for pound, is as strong as anybody we have, and that's been a great change of how he takes care of his body, probably over the last 6 to 8 months, just not over the summer. Justin Johnson, he's somebody that continues to show. He had a really good spring, and he gained a lot of confidence in the spring. That carried over through the summer and into today's practice. If you go and look defensively, Aubrey Burks really firmed up his body. A lot of confidence. He's more under control, plays patient. Charles Woods has gotten considerably stronger. Lance Dixon's carrying more weight. And so those are some guys really right off the top of my head that I think that have done a nice job with that.
I look at Koba. He looks like a Big 12 Mike linebacker. I'm not sure you've had a Big 12 looking Mike linebacker.
Now he looked that way in the spring too. So no, but I agree. He's you know what I really like about Lee, what I appreciate about him as a coach is he's got great energy. The kid loves football, and he's full of gratitude. He got here through a winding path. No silver spoon, and he's so appreciative of the opportunity to go out and practice. And you can tell, you can feel the gratitude when he's out there and the joy which he plays with. He's talking the whole time. It's in good natured, and he plays extremely hard. And you can coach the kid. He takes coaching.
You have two kind of variables this year with the OTAs, and you get to build in some off days during camp too. I guess for the OTAs, how do you make sure that it's not too much and you keep it fresh and you don't wear them down? And then how do you, keep momentum and make sure you have productive days even though you have to build in some breaks too in camp? It's kind of different things, but similar challenges.
Yeah, so the OTAs I think is really that's a good question because I think sometimes you can overdo it in the summer. And so what we did while we were here during the month of June, we did 2 a week, and we kept them right about 50 minutes. And we did some fundamental work and some low-speed install work on offense, defense, and special teams. But then when the staff was on vacation, we shut those down, and they were more player-led practices during that time. But the coaching staff was not involved, and then we picked it up here the last 2 weeks. But again, they were teaching. There wasn't we weren't out there with yelling, screaming, none of that kind of stuff. It was teaching, and the guys understood it, and I think they really liked it. And then as far as camp, so they changed the rule change. I think makes sense. It was always either 28 or 29 days to get your 25 practices in. They added 3 days to that, which I think makes sense. So what we've done is, if you look at kind of how we go through our camp, is we've set it up where we never practice hard more than 3 days in a row. And what you try to do is you go through camp, and I'll kind of show you. We want to do a build up, and we have practices that are low, moderate, and high. And so you got to build up to those high levels. And so what we've done is we're trying to get on a path where we can play at our fastest and be at our most fresh on September 1. But now what we can do is, after we go those high or those really physical practices, Mike, we can then take a day. And we built in a couple different 2-day breaks as well that I believe it makes the most sense. This is a little bit of a grind. I think where we start school on August 17th, which I think is actually a good thing because it makes you as a staff not overdo it because you have to go into your 20-hour rule, and so which I think is helpful as well.
So basically, you're going to do half your practices before they come to school, and then half getting ready for the opener, right? Is that how it breaks down?
Yeah, we'll be in camp mode right up until that. I think it's the 25th, which is a week before, even though we start school. And what I mean by that is I'll even take it a step back. So we're going to do our scrimmages on Thursday because we play on Thursday. So our last scrimmage will be on the 18th. And then we'll do a mock game week leading into our mock game on the 25th. And that's kind of traditionally when we break our camp mode, which means we're not preparing for everybody, we're preparing for Pitt.
Your secondary, you've brought in a lot of transfers, or a number that just got here this summer. And how much do they have to help? More importantly, what have you seen out of them this summer?
Well, they have to help. Greg. I mean, they have to help. That's why we got them. You're talking about Wesley McCormick and Rashad. I think they have to help, and that was something we needed. We needed experience. That was clear coming out of spring that we needed some experience. We like our guys. We like Andrew Wilson-Lamp. I thought he really showed some signs but we needed some experience in that room to match Charles. McCormick made a couple great plays today on the ball. Him and Cortez Braham really went at each other. And I like the way both those guys play. They both came in the month of May about the same time. But both those guys, talking about Rashad and Wes, they're going to compete to play. And we brought them in here because for two reasons. We thought they could compete for starting spots at the corner position and also help us on multiple special teams.
Then Jazier Cox, and also what's St. McLeod's status?
Yeah, so Saint's not with us. I don't foresee him being with us during fall camp. And Jasir's playing. He's playing our nickel or spear position. He also gives some flexibility when we go to our 6 DB package. He made one really nice play today. He's got the ability to get off blocks on the secondary, or as far as our field edge guy. Really smart football player too. And you look at the number of snaps we brought in, right? And I think if you look at all these preseason people that are maybe having some question marks on us, they're not necessarily taken into effect. We added over 1,000 reps, live snaps from James Madison. Last time I checked, they play pretty good football, right? North Dakota State, they play pretty good football, all right? And then Rashad at Colorado State, we added over 1,000 live reps in the secondary. And so while maybe they haven't played for us, they've played football at a really high level. And those three guys, they have to be ready to play for us, and I believe they will. They had a good first day.
I know you have a couple spots left. Are you looking to add anything, or is it kind of is what it is at this stage?
Well, I think then where we're at now, as far as you're always open, So we're sitting there. I think we're at 81, and if somebody came on the waiver line at the right spot, well, we're not closed, and so I think we have some guys that we want to keep some spots open too. If there's some walk-ons that show that they deserve the opportunity to be put on scholarship during fall camp as well.
You said you had 33 new guys. Where would you be without OTAs? I mean, because you start the first practice, you basically hit the ground running. So, I mean, I guess that works well with the climate of the game today.
Yeah, it does. Because your roster is never set, and we made a point. Like, this is the 130th team in Mountaineer history, and we made a point at the start of the summer. This is our team. That's not the way it used to be. It used to be you turn the page in January and, hey, this is our team, and you're going to add some freshmen, and maybe they're going to be in the mix, maybe they're not in the summer. But in the spring, we were really clear with our group. Like, there's going to be a bunch of bodies added to this mix. And so when we got to the summer, it's like, hey, this is Team 130. This is the team now. Now, we may add another body or two, but for the most part, when we started on Memorial Day, this is who we had. And so we made an emphasis on that. The OTAs help. Everybody talks about all the negative changes. I think the OTAs have been positive without question. Like, we didn't start like today. We didn't go in there and say, hey, this is where you line up. Right. We started like it was, and it's there's a reason why the NFL gets a lot of things right, and those OTAs have been really good for us. And as long as I think there's something that I think you'll see staying as long as staffs don't abuse them.
How many of those do you get in the summer?
So it's really you just have 2 hours within your 8-hour block.
Coach, obviously you've been talking a lot about the players, in coming and going from your program, but, 5 guys that are back is basically your whole offensive line. Now, last year, statistically, not the greatest season, but a lot of people expecting that to be a strength of this team, just the experience of them all coming back together. So I guess my question is, how important is it that, out of all the units that could remain intact, it is, that particular unit, and what type of leap forward do you expect them to take this season?
Yeah, so the first thing I would talk about on the statistics piece, I don't think that's necessarily fair to the offensive line because what it doesn't do, there's multiple reasons for hits on the quarterback and sacks. All right. First can be the quarterback for holding the ball too long or not moving up in the pocket. The second, it doesn't take into effect if a running back has a missed assignment or he gets beat, which we had several of those last year. And the same thing, like when you have a 7-man protection and your tight end gets beat, which again, we had several of those last year. So I don't think that those stats are necessarily fair to that group of five that's coming back. With that being said, though, we have to be able to protect the passer better on third down, especially at the edge positions at tackle. And I feel really good about Wyatt Milam switching to the left side and adding some length over there. And he's going to be special. You know, it's not if, it's when, you know. And he got a lot of really good experience last year. At right tackle, Brandon Yates is going to return, and Jaquay Hubbard is really pushing him. And so – but those guys, we've got to protect better on third down. And like I said earlier, we got to run the football versus the best people in our league at a higher rate. And so they know that. I think they've attacked it since January. I think that they are the strength of our team offensively. And they've pushed our defensive line to get better, and our defensive line has pushed them to get better. And so looking forward to those battles as we get through fall camp.
Neal, who's doing analysis stuff for your offense right now?
We'll get something done this week. Yeah,
So it's not a gap you're worried about or anything.
Yeah, no, we're not, because really that's more of opponent stuff. And the good news is all our summer prep was done by Ryan before he left, and so hopefully by the end of the week we have an announcement. But it's not something that we don't have a huge gap during fall camp right now, but we definitely got to get some people into those positions before we start really opponent prep. You know, real opponent prep once the season begins.
Dante Stills, for him to be a consistent impact game changer, what does he have to do?
Well, he's already taken 2 important steps. And so when he made the decision to come back, you know, most of our conversations really talked about the offseason and how he had to get his body and his mind in a place where he could repeat his best. And so, and to much to his credit, winter-wise and summer-wise, he has significantly stepped up his work ethic. His conditioning level's better. He's lowered his body fat. And so that was the first one. Now he's got to go put it on tape. But I think the biggest step for him was what he did in the winter and the summer.
Jay, anything else for Coach? All right.
All right.
Coach.
Good deal. Thank you all.